Hello everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I apologize that my voice sounds a little harsh right now, but I have to speak extra loud so you can hear me. Otherwise, my voice gets muted into this little computer. So, even though my voice has become very angry because of all the losses and sacrifices in my life, right now it's sounding especially angry because I have to holler at you almost. I almost have to holler at you for you to be able to hear me. And that's actually what I feel like I have to do for the sheriff of Clinton County, is to holler at him. Because when I speak nicely to him, he laughs at me, rebukes me, and kicks me out of his office. So, anyway, my name is Rhea Aker, and for my friends, that I went to school with, I know you're going, wow, Rhea, golly, geez, what's happened to you? It's called my dad, my brother, my sister, my mother, my son, all relating back to my father. The one key link in all of it is my father. My dad was my hero, okay? And the absolute last video I want to be making in the world right now is this video. The last thing I want to be doing right now is proving to the prosecuting attorney of Clinton County, Ohio, that my dad is in fact guilty of domestic violence against me. That my dad has yet made me a victim of domestic violence yet again. For 30 plus years I've been a victim of domestic violence from my dad and from my mother, who turned a blind eye. Yeah, she knew about it. She walks around town like she walked around town like she was a hero, and then she went to her grave hating my dad as if she didn't know. Shocked by the revelation brought up by my brother when he told her the truth about what a evil man Richard Aker is. And if our sheriff actually cared about the citizens that he was sworn to serve and protect, he would do just a 5 minutes of investigation, 5-minute phone call with my brother, or a 2-minute phone call with my sister, and we'd find out that yes, we were in fact victims of domestic violence, that we were, yes, molested as children. But what does Sheriff Fizer have to say about it now, in 2017? He laughs about it. Laughs about it, kicks me out of his office, and turns a blind fucking eye. And then when I present to him case after case after case of domestic violence that my dad has brought on against me yet again, what does he do? Refuses to even take the charges down. Refuses to even listen to the evidence in which I am presenting. Yes, folks, the evidence that you're going to listen to in part 3 of this documentary, or the video, I don't want to call it a documentary. I have a great documentary against BP. And Sheriff Fizer, believe you me, you are far less than Obama or BP. You might praise yourself all day long and you think you are God, Sheriff Fizer, but I can assure you, you are just a weak, pathetic man that is afraid of my pathetic father, who I'm apparently far more stronger than you are, Sheriff Fizer. Why? Because I am willing to present the evidence against my dad to the prosecuting attorney, whereas you have failed to do so. You refuse to do so. Your deputy sheriffs refuse to listen to the testimony. They refuse to investigate. They refuse to go and talk to our neighbors. They refuse to go and talk to my brother and sister. They refuse to go and talk to my teachers and coaches from high school. And my dad's next, again, I say, my dad's next door neighbors and our mutual friends that will tell you straight on how evil Richard Aker is and how much he wants to kill you and your deputy sheriffs or anybody else who steps on his property, including me. But of course, when I showed up on July 28th, he was all warm and cozy to me for about the first 6 hours while he heard the story of why it was that your sheriff's office illegally confiscated approximately 15 firearms from his house. Firearms that included semi-automatic rifles, I need to slow down, shotguns, handguns, and muzzle loaders that he and my brother and myself had actually put together. Your deputy sheriffs marched into his house without his permission and confiscated approximately 15 weapons, seized them illegally, emptied out the rounds throughout his house, put the safety on, and then loaded them into my vehicle and proceeded to watch me drive off his property with said firearms. And when I ask you about it 4 years later, your reasoning, violent reasoning, as I have in recording, which is going to be presented to the prosecuting attorney, Sheriff Fizer, and Major Prickett. What a great name, Major Prickett. Anyway, your testimony is going to be presented to the prosecuting attorney of Clinton County in support of my case, which is evidence as to why you're turning a blind eye to the domestic violence that is clearly evident, and that I have provided more than substantial evidence to prove my case. And yet, I am being made a victim yet again by your office, because you refuse to prosecute Richard Victor Aker of Clinton County, Ohio, for domestic violence, or menacing, aggravated menacing, I believe is what Deputy Meehan called it, aggravated menacing. I don't really see that one as being substantiated, but domestic violence, oh yeah, number one. Actually, maybe number one is felonious assault. When you wave a gun around in somebody's face, telling them to get out of your house. Yeah, Sheriff Fizer, in case you haven't read the law book, that is called felonious assault. And it is illegal. I am sick and tired of my dad getting by with domestic violence for 30 plus years. Now that I know the law, I didn't start investigating the law until February of 2017. Because why? I don't know. My dad was my hero, Sheriff Fizer. I love my dad, Sheriff Fizer. I want the man to be rehabilitated, Sheriff Fizer. I want him to learn that you are to love your enemies. Okay, even if I'm your enemy, for some sick reason, you have found me to be your enemy, Richard Aker. As you know, I pray that you find it in your heart to love me instead of kill me or want to kill me. But you, Sheriff Fizer, are siding with the enemy. You are siding with the perpetrator. You are siding with the criminal. Over and over and over again. Is that because, Sheriff Fizer, you confiscated 15 guns from his house illegally in 2013? Is that really what this is going to come down to, Sheriff Fizer? Because I can tell you right now, all the evidence that you're about to hear is being presented to the prosecuting attorney. And my dad is going to be convicted of domestic violence at a bare minimum. So I suggest, Sheriff Fizer, that you step up and do the job that you were sworn to do, which is serve and protect the citizens of Clinton County. And I, well, am still legally, I guess you would say, a citizen of Clinton County, although I'm on the run right now, trying to stay away from my dad, who does stalk me. As I tried to present to your deputy sheriff, but I guarantee you that too will be eliminated or was omitted from the sheriff's report. Guarantee you the sheriff's report mentions absolutely zero about my dad stalking me on April 13th of 2017. Yet I have a witness to the account, Sheriff Fizer. I have a witness. I have a gentleman who was working at the car wash in Wilmington, Ohio, who saw my dad pull up once. He left. The gentleman left. He's a kind gentleman. He left when he saw my dad pull up. And then my dad left. And then my dad came back again. The gentleman didn't see that occurrence. However, after my dad left a second time, the gentleman that was on his bike rode up on his bike, and my dad come flying back in to the car wash. Come flying back into the car wash. I had to scream at him, "Dad, stop, stop!" He nearly committed vehicular homicide, Sheriff Fizer, because a man had approached his daughter. And what is the first thing Dick Aker said to me when I walked into his house? "Why are you wearing such tight jeans?" But to every woman and child who is going through domestic violence right now, I hope and pray that you will understand that even if you are screamed at and you're belittled by a woman or man in your life over and over, and you can prove to the court system over and over that you're being screamed at and belittled and diminished and humiliated and called names, that's domestic violence, my friends. It's taken me 30 plus years to understand that. But Richard Aker has in fact been committing domestic violence since I was 11 years old. I'm now 49. That would be 38 years of domestic violence. Less the 3 years that I stepped out of his life completely after he waved a gun in my face again and told me to get the fuck out of his house. Why? Because I had done everything he needed me to do. The house was clean. Bills were paid. Food was in the refrigerator. The truck was filled up with gas. I'd done everything he needed. So as he's done for the last 30 years, he thought it was okay to commit domestic violence again and felonious assault again and scream and holler at me again to tell him to get the fuck out of his house. Because surely she'll be back next week. I don't care. I want her out of my house right now, and the only way I can tell her to get out of here is get the fuck out with the gun waving in my face. And then sickly, bipolarly, on the complete flip side of it, which is what makes it so sick, and which is what makes it so desperate, is that on the complete bipolar flip side of it, just the night before, he's begging me to stay. He's begging me to give up my home, begging me to give up my job, begging me to give up my car so I can come and take care of him. But when I refuse and tell him, Dad, I need to keep my home, it's okay. Let me come up here, take care of you 3 or 4 days. Then I'll go back to my little house in Milford, and then I'll be back in a few days. This is working out really well, Dad. So the next day he flips out. That's just what bipolar people do. And yes, Sheriff Fizer, my dad is bipolar. If you would take even 2 minutes to investigate him, you would find out that he is in fact bipolar, severely bipolar, and suffers from severe dementia. Sheriff Fizer, but yet you awarded him a conceal and carry license. I'm sorry, I have to laugh about it right now because it's sickening, Sheriff Fizer. You awarded the man a conceal and carry license in August of 2014 after, a year and 2 months after you had confiscated 15 guns from his house because you considered him such a viable threat to the community. And let's see, 2014 less 2009, 5 years after my mother had been awarded a protection order against him for stalking. And 6 years after he had been awarded, 6 years after he had been admitted to a mental hospital where he spent a week, which automatically makes him ineligible to ever be awarded a conceal and carry license. Yet you are so confident, Sheriff Fizer. Gee, I've never gone to law school, but I picked up a brochure in your lobby while I was sitting there waiting for your deputy sheriffs to show up to file my second charge of domestic violence against my dad. I sat there and I read your pamphlet, the Ohio, not your pamphlet. Please forgive me for giving you credit for anything, but the pamphlet from the department, the state of Ohio, going over the federal regulations and requirements to obtain a conceal and carry license, which when I read the first sentence, if you have been admitted to a mental hospital, basically, you are ineligible to be awarded a conceal and carry license. Cha-ching, Sheriff Fizer. Don't you love me now?